My dear students and parents, in this video we are going to discuss what is heart attack. In the chapter body fluids and circulation, in the subject zoology to the +1 Cbse, +2 Cbse and NEET students. Not only to the students, but also this video is useful to all of us. By God's grace, my educational videos are available in YouTube to 10th Cbse, +1 Cbse, +2 Cbse, NEET and IIT students in the subjects mathematics, physics, chemistry, zoology and botany in English language. The heart attack is also called myocardial infarction, that is MI. It is also called myocardial infarction, MI. Then what is heart attack? The heart attack occurs when one of the coronary arteries becomes blocked. The heart attack occurs when one of the coronary arteries becomes blocked. When the coronary artery is blocked, what will happen? When the coronary artery becomes blocked, the lumen of the coronary artery becomes narrower. What is lumen? Lumen is the inside space of the tubular structure like arteries and intestine. When the coronary artery becomes narrower, the flow of blood supply will be reduced. If the blood supply is reduced, the oxygen supply will also be reduced. That is, the oxygen supply to the heart muscles will also be reduced. Why? When the blood supply is reduced, the supply of oxygen is also reduced. What is the function of blood? Blood transports oxygen, carbon dioxide between the lungs and the rest of the body. Blood not only transports oxygen and the carbon dioxide, the blood also transports nutrients between the digestive tract and the storage site and the rest of the body. Our heart requires continuous supply of oxygen to function and survive like any other tissues and organs of the body. The coronary arteries are arterial blood vessels. The coronary arteries transport the oxygen to the heart muscles. There are 4 main coronary arteries. The coronary arteries wrap around the entire heart. The heart muscles are responsible for the contraction of the heart chambers. So, if sufficient oxygen is not provided to the heart muscles, it cannot contract the heart chambers effectively. Why the coronary artery is blocked? The reason is due to the deposit of calcium, fat, cholesterol and any fibrous tissue, so that the lumen of the coronary artery becomes narrower. Why the coronary artery is blocked? By the deposits of calcium, fat, cholesterol and fibrous tissues, which makes the lumen of the arteries narrower. Then we are going to see what are the symptoms of heart attack. The symptoms of heart attack are severe pain in the heart or nearby organ, breathlessness, restlessness, nausea and vomiting. Symptoms of heart attack: severe pain in the heart or nearby organ, breathlessness, restlessness, nausea and vomiting. What is nausea? Nausea is the sickness in the stomach. It is the sensation of vomiting. Can the heart attack be cured? Yes, heart attack can be cured. When it can be cured? If one gets medical attention and treatment to clear the blockage soon after the attack, the heart attack need not be fatal. You can see this information on the board. In this video, we have learned about the heart attack. In the other videos, you can see the heart failure, etc. My dear students, if this video is really beneficial to you, you can share this video with your friends, relatives and classmates. You can also subscribe my channel. My dear students and parents, in the previous video, we have discussed about the heart attack. In this video, we are going to discuss the heart failure. What is heart failure? When a person's heart is unable to pump blood sufficiently to meet the requirements of the body. Note the word. The heart is unable to pump blood sufficiently, but not completely. Heart failure occurs due to the dysfunction of left ventricle. You can see this information on the board. Heart failure is also called congestive heart failure, that is CHF. You can also this information on the board. We know that there are 4 chambers in the heart, 2 upper chambers and 2 lower chambers. The upper chambers are called auricles, that is atria. Atria is the plural name. The singular is atrium. When the right auricle, that is right atrium, contracts, the blood comes to the right ventricle. The right ventricle is placed below and nearer to the right atrium. When the right ventricle contracts, the blood, that is impure blood, that is deoxygenated blood, goes to the lungs through the pulmonary artery. We know that the arteries carry the oxygenated blood, that is pure blood, from the heart to different parts of the body, except only one artery, that is pulmonary artery. This pulmonary artery carries the impure blood, that is deoxygenated blood, from the heart to the lungs. Then after getting purification means after getting oxygen, the blood becomes oxygenated blood, that is pure blood. This pure blood comes to the left atrium, that is left auricle, through the pulmonary veins. All veins carry the impure blood, that is deoxygenated blood, except this pulmonary vein. This pulmonary vein carries the pure blood, that is oxygenated blood, from the lungs to the left atrium. then the left atrium contracts. When the left atrium contracts, the blood pours into the left ventricle. The left ventricle is also placed below the left atrium and nearer to the left atrium. In all these three cases, that is in the case of right atrium, in the case of right ventricle, in the case of left atrium, the blood has to come to the nearer chamber, so that no greater force is required for contraction. But in the case of the left ventricle, when the left ventricle contracts, the blood has to go from the heart to different parts of the body, that is to all cells of the body. So the left ventricle has to contract with greater force, then only it can pump blood from the heart to all parts of the body, because the shoulder, head, brain are all situated above the heart. Even though they are situated above the heart, it has to pump blood to this head, brain, shoulder and our face and all other portions above the heart. So the function of the left ventricle is very, very important. So it needs sufficient amount of energy to pump the blood. If it dysfunctions, the heart failure will occur. All organs of the body, that is all cells of the body, need oxygen for their functioning. The oxygen is not supplied directly to the organs, that is to the all cells of the body. They are supplied only through the blood. Therefore, what is the function of the blood? Blood transports oxygen and carbon dioxide between the lungs and different parts of the body. Blood not only transports oxygen and carbon dioxide, it also transports nutrients between the digestive tract and the storage site to different parts of the body. Then we are going to study about the main symptoms of the heart failure. The main symptoms of the heart failure are congestion of lungs and edema. What is congestion? The congestion is the accumulation of excess amount of body fluid. In this case, the accumulation of excess amount of body fluid in the lungs. That is the congestion of lungs. Then do you know what is edema? Edema is also accumulation of excess amount of body fluid, that is in the legs, feet and ankles. So that in the case of heart failure, we can see the swelling in the feet, legs and the ankles. If we press the swollen portion, we can feel the pit. Why the heart failure occurs? The heart failure occurs due to coronary artery disease, that is CAD. High blood pressure, diabetes or obesity, stress, etc. You can see this fact on the board. Then we are going to discuss what is cardiac arrest. When there is complete heart failure, that condition is called as cardiac arrest. In the case of cardiac arrest, a person's heart stops pumping blood to the parts of the body, that is to the entire parts of the body, stops pumping. In the case of heart failure, a person's heart is unable to pump blood sufficiently. In the case of cardiac arrest, a person's heart completely stops pumping blood to the entire parts of the body. Therefore, it stops breathing usually. Hence, what are the differences between heart attack, heart failure and cardiac arrest? In the case of heart attack, the heart muscles are damaged due to inadequate supply of blood, that is inadequate supply of oxygen. In the case of heart failure, the heart is unable to pump blood sufficiently for the requirements of the body. In the case of cardiac arrest, the heart stops pumping blood from the heart to different parts of the body. These are the differences between heart attack, heart failure and cardiac arrest. My dear students, I think that this video will be very useful to you. If this is really beneficial to you, you can share this video with your friends, relatives and classmates. You can also subscribe my channel. My dear students and parents, in this video we are going to learn how the insulin and the glucagon maintains our normal glucose level. In the chapter Chemical Coordination and Integration, in the subject Zoology to the +1 Cbse and NEET students. It is also useful to +2 Cbse students and to all of us. Do you know the structure of pancreas? The structure of pancreas is leaf-like. Where this pancreas is placed? This pancreas is placed between the limbs of the duodenum. What is duodenum? The duodenum is the first part of the small intestine. The pancreas is placed on the back side of the stomach in the abdominal cavity. The length of the pancreas is 15 centimeter. The width of the pancreas is 2.5 centimeter. And the weight of the pancreas is 85 gram. This pancreas is a composite gland. Why it is called as composite gland? Because this pancreas acts as exocrine gland as well as endocrine gland. As a exocrine gland, it secretes the pancreatic juice, that is pancreatic enzyme. What is the use of this pancreatic enzyme? When the food we eat enters into the duodenum, the food is mixed with the pancreatic juice. This pancreatic juice helps in the digestion of carbohydrates, proteins and fats and converts them into the energy for our body cells, tissues and organs. As a endocrine gland, the pancreas contains islets of Langerhans. Do you know how much islets of Langerhans are present in the pancreas? Nearly 1 to 2 million islets of Langerhans are present in the pancreas. Islets of Langerhans. What is this islets of Langerhans? Islets of Langerhans are pancreatic cells secreting insulin and glucagon. If you see the diagram of location of endocrine glands, you can see the location of the pancreas. If you see the diagram of duct systems of liver, gallbladder and pancreas, you can see the structure of the pancreas. If you see the diagram of section of pancreas, you can get the idea of islets of Langerhans, exocrine part and endocrine part. There are two main types of cells in these islets of Langerhans. They are alpha cells and beta cells. We can also say there are also one more main cell called delta cells. The alpha cells secrete the glucagon. The beta cells secrete the insulin. The delta cells secrete the somatostatin. Alpha cells secrete glucagon. Beta cells secrete insulin. Delta cells secrete somatostatin. First of all, we are going to see the function of insulin. What is insulin? Insulin is a peptide hormone. Why it is called peptide hormone? Because the molecules of this contain peptides and proteins. These peptides and proteins are made of amino acid chain. This insulin is also called as hypoglycemic hormone. We will discuss why it is called hypoglycemic hormone a little later. This insulin plays an important role in regulating the glucose homeostasis. What is this homeostasis? The homeostasis means maintaining the steady level, that is stable level of many factors of our body, that is the temperature, the pH value and the concentration of glucose have to be maintained at the steady level, that is at the constant level. Maintaining the body factors at the steady level is called as homeostasis. Then where does this insulin act? This insulin acts on hepatocytes and adipocytes. What is hepatocytes? Hepatocytes are liver cells. What is adipocytes? Adipocytes are called lipocytes and fat cells. These fat cells are specialized in storing the energy as fat. We can say the main function of insulin as three. The first is it oxidizes the glucose, that is the blood sugar. What is the meaning of oxidation of glucose? That is burning of glucose. Where from this glucose comes into our body? Our body converts the carbohydrates contained in the food we eat into the glucose. Why we need the glucose? This glucose is needed to get the energy for the body cells, tissues and organs. Without the glucose, we cannot get sufficient energy. We need the glucose, but at the same time, we need the glucose at the normal level. Kind of function of the insulin is if there is excess of glucose in the blood, that excess of glucose are converted into glycogen and the glycogens are stored in the liver. The insulin not only converts the excess amount of glucose into glycogen, but also converts the excess amount of glucose into fatty acids. These fatty acids are stored as fat in the adipose tissue. So what a fantastic arrangement is given by our God in order to convert the excess amount of glucose. The third function of the insulin is it enhances, that is, it increases the uptake of glucose by the cells. In these three ways, the insulin decreases the glucose level, that is blood sugar level, so that the insulin is called hypoglycemic hormone. This process is called hypoglycemia. Hypoglycemic hormone. Hypoglycemia. The process of converting the glucose into glycogen is called gluconeogenesis. Gluconeogenesis. Then a situation arises. What situation arises? A situation arises in which the blood glucose level is low. Suppose we are sleeping deeply. At that time, our body can ask us, "Sir, madam, can you eat so that I will get the carbohydrate?" Because the blood glucose level is low in your blood. Is it possible? No. Our body cannot ask us. At that time, one more hormone, that is glucagon, plays an important role in maintaining the normal glucose level. In this case, to increase the glucose level of the blood. As said earlier, in the case of insulin, this glucagon is also a peptide hormone. This glucagon is also called hyperglycemic hormone. Glucagon maintains the normal glucose levels in three ways. The first is it converts the glycogen stored in the liver into glucose. Insulin converts the glucose into glycogen and stored in the liver. Here, the glucagon converts the glycogen stored in the liver into glucose, because the glucose level in the blood is now low. This process is called as gluconeogenesis, that is breaking down of glycogen. Gluconeogenesis. This word comes from the glycogen. The second function of the glucagon is synthesis of glucose from the proteins and fats. This process is called gluconeogenesis. This process is called gluconeogenesis. What is the process of gluconeogenesis? It is a metabolic process in which organisms synthesize the glucose, that is blood sugar, for the catabolic reactions from the proteins and fat. Note the difference between the words glucogenesis, glycogeneolysis and gluconeogenesis. In the case of glycogenesis, the glucose is converted into glycogen by the insulin hormone. In the case of glycogenolysis, glycogen is converted into glucose by the glucagon hormone. In the case of gluconeogenesis, glucose is synthesized from the fats and proteins. Note the difference between these three words. Glycogenesis. In the process of glycogenesis, glucose is converted into glycogen by the insulin hormone. In the case of glucogenolysis, the glycogen is converted into glucose by the glucagon hormone. In the case of gluconeogenesis, glucose is synthesized from fat and proteins. The third function of the glucagon is it reduces the uptake of glucose by the cells. In these three ways, glucagon hormone increases the blood glucose level, so that glucagon hormone is called hyperglycemic hormone. This process is called hyperglycemia. Do you know what are the types of diabetes? The types of diabetes are type 1 diabetes and type 2 diabetes. In the case of type 1 diabetes, the insulin is not produced by the beta cells. Since the insulin is not produced by the beta cells, the type 1 diabetes cannot be prevented. Why? The beta cells does not produce the insulin? Because our immune system mistakenly attack and damage the beta cells, so that the insulin is not synthesized by the beta cells. In the case of type 2 diabetes, the body does not respond to the insulin. We can prevent the type 2 diabetes. The both cases of diabetes cannot be cured, but at the same time they can be controlled by the diet control and medication. If there is prolonged hyperglycemia, that condition is called as diabetes mellitus. What is the meaning of diabetes? The meaning of diabetes is passing through. Here, passing through of urine. The meaning of mellitus is sweetened with honey. That is sugar in the urine. Therefore, the diabetes mellitus means that passing of urine with the excess of glucose. If the glucose is passed through the urine, we cannot get sufficient energy. Our body cells, tissues, our organs cannot get sufficient energy for their activities. Moreover, in the case of diabetes mellitus, there will be the formation of harmful compounds known as ketone bodies. Now let us see what is the normal glucose level during fasting and 2 hours after eating. The fasting glucose level less than 100 per deciliter is normal. That is, fasting blood sugar level less than, if the glucose level is 100 milligram per deciliter to 125 milligram per deciliter, that condition is called as pre-diabetes. 100 to 125 milligram per deciliter is pre-diabetes. If the glucose level that is blood sugar level is 126 milligram per deciliter or higher is diabetes. 126 milligram per deciliter or higher is diabetes. Then what is the normal glucose level? That is normal blood sugar level 2 hours after eating is less than 140 milligram per deciliter. Blood sugar level 2 hours after eating is less than 140 milligram per deciliter. Can the diabetes be kept under control? Yes, even though it is not cured throughout our lifetime, it can be kept under control. The diabetes can be kept under control by the administration of insulin hormone and hypoglycemics such as tolbutamide, urinase and sulfonyl urease. Tolbutamide, urinase and sulfonyl urease. These are the drugs. These drugs will enhance the secretion of insulin. Next question arises is whether the insulin can be taken orally. No, the insulin cannot be taken orally because it is a proteinous substance and it is broken down in the digestive tract. Therefore, insulin is administered through injections. In the case of type 1 diabetes and in the case of type 2 diabetes, the patients should eat sugar-free diet. Then we are going to see about the somatostatin hormone. This somatostatin hormone is secreted by the delta cells. The duty of this somatostatic hormone is to inhibit the secretion of insulin and glucagon. This somatostatin hormone is a polypeptide hormone with 14 amino acids and disulfide. It plays an important role in the secretion of islets of Langerhans. Islets of Langerhans. If you see all my zoology videos regularly, definitely you can maintain your health in an excellent manner. If this video is really beneficial to you, you can share this video with your friends, classmates and relatives. You can also subscribe my channel. I appeal to the students to see my video, what are the causes of diabetes and what are the preventive measures.